I got tagged at least 100 times in the comments of Jason's new golf video, which had guest appearances from our tiny humans.
You got me in the frame?
Yep. Got you in the frame.
Most of you just wanted to remind me
It was reported that Taylor Swift's engagement ring was not seen merely as an accessory, but rather described as a mysterious love letter wrapped in a jewel, as Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce had proposed to the global icon in a way that ignited both speculation and worldwide fan theories, ensuring the moment became larger than life from the very beginning. Observers explained that Kelce had not simply slipped a diamond onto her finger, but had instead unleashed an unstoppable wave of commentary and excitement that only deepened as each detail came to light. Commentators emphasized that what made the ring the subject of such global fascination was not only the million-dollar price tag or the vintage aura surrounding it, but also the intricate way in which it wove itself into the symbolic language that Swift had built throughout her career, one where nothing was accidental and every detail invited deeper interpretation. They recalled how Swift had spent years constructing an empire on more than her lyrics, hooks, and heartbreak anthems, for she had become renowned as a storyteller, a master of puzzles, and above all, a believer in coded messages and layered symbolism. Journalists pointed out that every album rollout, music video, or Instagram post had long been treated as a treasure map, with fans combing through every tiny element in search of hidden meaning. Thus, when Kelce, celebrated as one of the NFL's most charismatic stars, collaborated with kindred Lubeck of artifacts Find to design the ring, it was never destined to be just a diamond but an artifact, a coded relic, and a talisman of meaning that extended far beyond carats. Reports describe the centerpiece as an old-mine, brilliant-cut diamond sitting atop a chunky hand-engraved band, a stone dazzling and unique yet presented with vintage chic appeal. Analysts noted that to casual onlookers it might have appeared stylish and simple, but to those who knew Swift's world, the ring looked like a thesis statement carefully drafted in stone. Old mine cut diamonds, popularized in the 18th and 19th centuries, were explained as being wholly distinct from modern cuts, each stone one of a kind, their broad facets and slightly asymmetrical forms offering a glow that contemporary precision stones could not replicate. Experts remarked that peering into such a stone revealed a miniature universe, a history layered with romance, and marked by the visible handiwork of artisans who had once worked by candlelight. Jeweler Bry Raymond elaborated that old mine-cut diamonds possessed a romantic quality unmatched by today's styles, their broader facets, open cullets, and slight irregularities creating a glow that leaned less on calculated brilliance and more on soulful character, making them stones that did not merely reflect light but held it. Reports emphasized that in a time obsessed with flawlessness, Swift's choice represented a quiet act of rebellion, one that nodded to authenticity and individuality over perfection. Observers stressed that what fascinated the public even more was not what the eye could see but the details hidden in plain sight, for embedded in the ring's features lay a numerological signature of Swift herself. Coverage highlighted her lifelong connection with the number 13, which she had referred to as her lucky number, drawn on her hand before concerts, and woven into her work repeatedly. It was explained that this was more than superstition for her. It had become a principle that guided her creative and personal choices, so the revelation that the old mine-cut diamond carried 58 facets, confirmed by the Gemological Institute of America, sparked immediate discussion, since 5 plus 8 equaled 13, a number Swift's fans understood as never coincidental. Journalists reminded audiences that Swift herself had sung the line, "None of it was accidental," further fueling the interpretation. The timeline around the engagement was likewise scrutinized, with references made to Swift appearing on Kelce's New Heights podcast on August 13th, the couple waiting exactly 13 days before sharing their engagement news on August 26th, and the date itself falling 39 days ahead of her upcoming album release, a calculation of 13 multiplied by 3. Even Kelce's jersey number 87 drew attention, since when added to 13 it equaled 100, while his career was entering its 13th season, ensuring that numerology surrounded their story at every angle. Subscribe if you want to keep following more of these incredible details as they unfold. Observers concluded that the ring, therefore, was not simply a gesture of love but a narrative told in secret code to anyone willing to interpret it. Experts suggested that the deeper significance of choosing an old mine-cut diamond lay in the modern craving for authenticity, as more clients gravitated toward jewels that felt personal, storied, and one of a kind, especially in a world where mass production dominated. Each stone was described as a fingerprint, a reminder that beauty resided in uniqueness and imperfection, and that history itself could live inside an object. Commentators linked this to Swift's lifelong embrace of nostalgia and storytelling, explaining that the ring symbolized both a glance backward and a step forward, bridging eras in a single emblem. The coverage emphasized that the romance between Swift and Kelce, though viewed as a whirlwind, was also carefully constructed, unfolding in ways that felt fated, with the engagement ring serving as the ultimate metaphor for their story. It was emphasized that this was not jewelry chosen from a shelf, but a creation shaped with intention, Kelce's involvement in the design reinforcing the depth of thought poured into it. Reports mentioned that custom engraving along the band remained a secret, adding further intrigue, for no one beyond the couple knew what private words or symbols were etched there, whether lyric, inside joke, or phrase of importance, and this secrecy only intensified the public's interest, ensuring speculation would continue until revelation surfaced. It was then pointed out that for Swift's fans, the engagement ring had already become more than a headline or a piece of jewelry, since it immediately transformed into a puzzle waiting to be solved, a symbol layered with clues that demanded analysis from her global community of followers. Commentators reported that social media lit up instantly with endless discussions, fans zooming in on photos, decoding possible engravings, speculating about hidden meanings, and weaving the jewel into larger theories about what it might foreshadow in Swift's music or personal life. Observers stated that this was entirely in line with Swift's reputation for turning her career into a participatory treasure hunt, where every fan became a detective, piecing together codes from lyrics, visuals, numbers, and symbols. The engagement ring was declared the newest chapter in that ongoing game, fueling creativity and deepening the sense of collective involvement that had defined her fandom for years. Analysts remarked that this cultural moment demonstrated the unusual magnetism Swift maintained, because she had a way of transforming personal milestones into events that felt inclusive, even when private in origin. The report stressed that in a world hungry for authenticity, her choices resonated deeply, especially because the ring seemed to embody not just luxury but meaning, not just romance but narrative. Observers underlined that this explained why the Swift-Kelce engagement generated a reaction so much larger than any ordinary celebrity news, since fans saw within it the same magic that had carried through her albums and performances. Sources described the ring as setting the stage for a chapter that promised both mystery and glamour, for if history served as precedent, then Swift's engagement would be laced with more hidden codes, numerological puzzles, and symbolic artistry that would unfold gradually over time. Commentators noted that Swift had long embraced symbols, believing in their ability to turn everyday objects into emblems of love, memory, and legacy, so her ring served as an ultimate example of that philosophy. The focus then shifted to the emotional aspect, as writers reflected that beyond numbers, diamonds, or craftsmanship, what stood at the heart of the story was two people transforming their love into a unique and lasting symbol. Analysts framed it as the rarest gem of all in a disposable age, emphasizing that authenticity had been the through line, and that the ring demonstrated not extravagance alone but individuality, history, and thoughtfulness. Observers said that Kelce's decision to design the piece in collaboration with a jeweler known for artistic touches underscored his commitment to creating something with deep resonance rather than superficial sparkle. Attention was also drawn to the ongoing secrecy about the engraving inside the band, a detail that kept speculation alive and gave the couple a piece of intimacy untouched by the world's gaze. Reports confirmed that fans online speculated whether the engraving carried a lyric from her catalog, initials, or perhaps a coded date significant to their journey. By withholding the truth, Swift and Kelce managed to preserve a sense of mystery in the face of endless scrutiny, which critics remarked was an achievement in itself. Observers added that this gesture reminded audiences that some aspects of their relationship remained private, a boundary the couple appeared determined to protect even as the world clamored for insight. Subscribe now if you want to keep up with the unfolding secrets still hidden in their story. At the same time, journalists highlighted how Swift's choice of an old mine cut reflected broader cultural trends, where individuals sought out rarity and imperfection over mass-produced uniformity. They emphasized that such stones were hand-cut in eras long before modern technology, meaning each carried quirks and idiosyncrasies that made them irreplaceable. Reports explained that imperfections were not considered flaws in these diamonds, but hallmarks of authenticity, a direct parallel to Swift's own career built on personal storytelling and emotional transparency rather than polish alone. This connection was repeatedly cited as a reason fans felt so moved by the ring's symbolism, since it fit her ethos perfectly. Observers drew attention to the fact that the engagement had unfolded both publicly and privately at once, visible to millions, yet layered with codes only true fans could unlock, which mirror the way Swift had always navigated her life in the spotlight. Analysts argue that this balance between exposure and secrecy sustained her allure, as she offered enough clues to keep audiences invested but kept back just enough to maintain mystique. The engagement announcement, according to reports, carried the same qualities as her albums, full of personal touches yet delivered in a way that sparked collective analysis. Commentators even pointed out that the timing of the couple's announcement, carefully aligned with dates tied to the number 13, felt orchestrated in a way that made fans believe it was part of a larger story, one that would unfold with future albums and performances. Writers emphasized that Swift's fans had already begun tying the engagement to theories about her upcoming record, speculating whether lyrics would reference rings, numbers, or coded dates linked to the event. Some observers suggested that even the design of the ring could foreshadow visual motifs in future tours or albums, given Swift's pattern of building interconnected narratives across projects. Analysts remarked that few artists in history had created such a dynamic where personal life and professional output blended so seamlessly into a shared mythos. The Swift-Kelce engagement ring, they concluded, had already transcended its role as jewelry and instead entered the realm of symbol, narrative, and cultural phenomenon. Reports underscored that the true brilliance of the story lay in how it connected fans to history, since an antique-style diamond linked past centuries to modern celebrity, reminding audiences that love stories could carry echoes of the past even in the digital age. Observers marveled that when admirers looked into the facets of the stone, they saw not only craftsmanship but the imprint of human hands across time, a vision of beauty born from imperfection and legacy. Commentators tied this to the idea that Swift's relationship with Kelce carried the same qualities, grounded in authenticity, imperfection, and individuality, yet strong enough to sparkle brightly under the world's gaze. Reports observed that the ring had therefore become both a clue and a promise, a signal to fans that more mysteries remained ahead while symbolizing love that was meant to last. It was further observed that the engagement had revealed not only the couple's bond but also the durability of Swift's artistic philosophy, since everything in her world seemed interconnected, every symbol tied to a larger narrative, and every moment transformed into part of a story her fans felt compelled to follow. Analysts said this narrative quality was precisely why the engagement continued to dominate cultural discussion weeks after the initial announcement, as fans replayed each detail, dissected each number, and pored over photographs for hidden clues. The media reported that this level of engagement underscored Swift's unusual ability to create cultural phenomena from personal milestones, unlike many celebrities whose announcements faded quickly into the background. Observers explained that Kelce's role in the design of the ring deepened the narrative because it revealed his investment not just in the proposal but in the symbolic aspects of Swift's world, which fans took as evidence of the depth of their connection. Reports also claimed that Kelce's jersey number aligning with Swift's lucky 13 multiplied the sense of fate around their pairing, reinforcing the narrative of inevitability that surrounded them. Journalists noted that Swift's fandom, long trained to treat her work as a mystery to unravel, had extended this instinct seamlessly into her personal life, turning the engagement into another interactive chapter in the ongoing saga. Analysts pointed out that this participatory element set Swift apart from other public figures, since her fans did not simply consume news about her life passively but actively engaged in decoding and interpreting it, making the engagement ring a catalyst for community conversation and creative speculation. Commentators explained that the ring's vintage quality also resonated because it suggested permanence and continuity in a cultural climate obsessed with novelty, reminding audiences that some stories, like love and friendship, endure across generations. The coverage revealed that this sense of continuity made the engagement feel both timeless and modern, blending antique craftsmanship with the spectacle of contemporary celebrity. Writers underscored that Swift had always valued this fusion of old and new, weaving nostalgia into her work while embracing innovation, and the ring served as a perfect physical representation of that balance. Analysts stated that the engagement ring was already being discussed as a cultural artifact in itself, likely to be remembered as much for its symbolic meaning as for its monetary value. Observers remarked that fans speculated about whether the ring would one day appear in an album photo shoot, a tour costume detail, or a music video, given Swift's history of repurposing personal items into her art. The press suggested that the secrecy surrounding the engraving further fueled this speculation because it allowed space for theories to flourish while granting the couple privacy. Fans reportedly believed that when the engraving's meaning was eventually revealed, if it ever was, it would add yet another layer to the unfolding narrative, making the story even richer. Subscribe for more updates as every new clue comes to light. At the same time, cultural critics emphasized that while Swift's fandom thrived on decoding, the engagement story was ultimately about intimacy between two individuals who had chosen to bind their lives together. Reports stressed that beneath the spectacle, the coded numbers, and the antique craftsmanship, the most important truth was that Swift and Kelce had found a way to express their love authentically on their own terms. Observers contrasted this with the broader world of celebrity, where many engagements appeared calculated for publicity, arguing that Swift's story felt different precisely because of the layers of care, intention, and personalization involved. Analysts highlighted that Swift's choice of an old mine-cut diamond was not just aesthetic, but symbolic of her preference for individuality over conformity, a message that resonated strongly with her fan base. Commentators reported that the public's response revealed a hunger for authenticity in celebrity culture, where audiences longed for stories that felt real, textured, and meaningful rather than shallow displays of wealth. This engagement, they said, provided that satisfaction, combining luxury with legacy, love with symbolism, and personal privacy with collective participation. The coverage emphasized that the broader narrative was not ending with the proposal, but rather beginning a new act, one that would inevitably play out in the public eye through future appearances, performances, and perhaps even songs. Analysts concluded that if history was any indication, Swift would continue weaving this engagement into her artistic work, ensuring that the ring and its symbolism would not fade but remain an active thread in her tapestry of storytelling. Observers predicted that fans would remain vigilant for references in lyrics, visuals, and numbers, treating each new release as a possible continuation of the engagement saga. Writers stressed that this cyclical process, where personal life inspired art and art fed back into fandom interpretation, had defined Swift's career and ensured her enduring relevance. Reports remarked that the engagement represented a perfect embodiment of that cycle, where a personal milestone became a cultural text. Commentators declared that the Swift-Kelce engagement story was proof that in a disposable era, meaning still mattered, and that symbols could still carry power. They concluded that the ring was not only a dazzling diamond but also a coded artifact, an heirloom of love and artistry that future generations would discuss. Observers closed by stating that in Swift's universe, no symbol was ever accidental, no number ever random, and no moment without significance, so the engagement ring was destined to stand not merely as jewelry, but as a cultural emblem of love, creativity, and mystery.